Alright, so last time he did this, he hit a literal child.
The children!
But we should be blessed this time, right? Yeah, nah, it'll be fine, don't worry. So, the negatives, you've dislocated your face. The positives, you got some banging shots, mate. Yo guys, it is your boy Nirin here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. But what's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, there's the news that Celebrations have removed Bounty's chocolates from their boxes, and I, for one, am outraged.
Emery from Norway is...
Yeah, and what, mate? I like Bounty.
Why are you boring me? I'm right.
Twix is boring, but that stays in. Alright, calm. If you put Twix first, you need to go mental asylum. You're the same dons that stream music on Amazon Prime. The order that you make tea is milk, then the bag, then the water, then you put the mug on top of the liquid. Mason Mount even dressed as a Bounty bar in solidarity.
Your trousers are funny, fam. Levi jeans.
But on to the football though now, and it's been a dramatic week of Premier League action. This game week was coming like Boxing Day BC. Not Christmas though, so more like Shadow Boxing Day. But we start in London, and I can't lie lads, it's red.
I'm telling you, we're gonna win the Champions League. I'm telling you.
Arsenal convincingly beat Chelsea 1-0 at Stamford Bridge thanks to a goal from Gabriel, and that sets up the new tragic film, Graham Potter and the Prisoner of Arsenal San. His team talk with Mark Cucurella did not really work.
Oh wait, you talk to people often?
You know what I mean? Mostly because for Arsenal goal, he just decided to hug Granit Xhaka. You meant to man-mark him, not move to him, for God's sake. I can only imagine what he's like in training for defensive drills.
Can I kiss you?
Sure.
How good is he?
Rob Holding was on the bench seeing Cucurella take his name far too literally.
He copied my whole fucking flow!
Oh,
word for word, bar for bar!
Going into this one though, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang featured in a BT Sport advert, gassing up the game, and it was an interesting move.
Arsenal, nothing personal. I'm back. I'm blue.
Yeah, nah, it was nothing personal, alright. You just know what the pre-match team talk was from Mikel Arteta. Mikel and Alba had a very tense face-off in the tunnel before kick-off, and Gabriel's tweet quoting the advert is absolutely reckless. It's a shithousery award for the Brazilian. Troops posted the incident on Insta, and Aubameyang liked it. The nerve of this man when these are his highlights. Arsenal, yet again, came out on top though in a big test here. Ben White was even hitting the target. Granit Xhaka was making Jorginho aware of the score, and his interview afterwards was phenomenal.
The rain's not stopping that kind of happiness there. You see the atmosphere, it's fucking unbelievable. Sorry about the rain.
One man I'm still mad impressed with though is William Saliba. 10 out of 10 defensive display again. He defends with antivirus and two-step authentication on. You've got to get a correct password to get past him. Is it Blood Clot Yang? Yeah, you know it's not gonna be that, bro. This Arsenal fan was in camouflage hiding in the Chelsea end. And for the Blues, well, it's a tough day at the office here. They're now behind Brighton in the table. And Seagulls fans have little sympathy for Graham Potter after his decision to leave them.
Not too sure that was a clever move.
Not been a great week for United either, after they slumped to a 3-1 loss at Aston Villa on Unai Emery's debut in charge. A below-par evening, you could say.
Good evening.
Unai is back with a bang here.
Really done a job.
Not literally, lad. Come on, there's kids watching. Luca Dean scored a sensational free kick in this one, and Emi Martinez had a brilliant view of it flying in. But for United, and this just continues their inconsistencies. Erik ten Hag was left unamused watching Van der Beek try and play football.
I love ambition. Absolutely fucking love it. But in this game, you've got to fucking walk before you can run.
You know what, honestly? Elon Musk is trying to get rid of fakes on Twitter. Ban this guy for impersonating a footballer. Cristiano Ronaldo's sofa score was out of here as soon as the game kicked off. Harry Maguire was having fun watching him struggle with the captain's armband now. We've got live scenes of Victor Lindelof to Ten Hag's team talk whilst listening to absolutely none of it. Luke Shaw had an explanation as to why he had to be subbed off late on.
I'm 18 stone, I'm heavy. It's hard work.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka's trying to get back into the England fold with Reece James's injury, and Marcus Rashford was pleased at least seeing a child score for Aston Villa's third. And I can't lie, it's a good turnaround for Villa. It moves them up to 13th place now, this victory. But Leon Bailey wasn't too happy with the referees, saying he was struggling to breathe after getting an arm to the chest. The poor guy's really going to be struggling after his 17th people's elbow. At Liverpool, and there's a lot to get through here, after the Reds' owner, FSG, put the club up for sale. Lads, We're free. Free from the shackles of only being able to sign centre mids with butternut squash shins. When I heard things were about to kick off, I thought, Lord, what's True Geordie done now? But at least this story has some level of sincerity.
Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed it.
I can't imagine Liverpool's board members will be too pleased when I walk in with a bid of a Tesco club card, a used baby bell and £6.49.
Get out! Get out!
But it does raise the question, who is gonna buy us? Jake Paul tweets about us enough, he might be interested. Darwin Núñez will challenge him to a welterweight scrap the madman. I look forward to seeing Jake Paul address Trent Alexander-Arnold on his poor form.
Gotta discuss some things, man. I ain't even gonna trip. You been tripping, man. Like, we ain't.
There's rumours of state ownership, as is the case with Man City and Newcastle. We're in a state anyway, to be honest with you lads. Joe Gomez is going to be getting Saudi Arabian oil wages. The new owners are going to have their take on where they'll play Curtis Jones.
Right, that's alright. I can always play him nowhere. Okay, moving on.
Harvey Elliott's going to have to try and impress the new board members to keep his spot in the starting 11.
Inshallah.
Our new UAE leaders are going to be in for a shock when they realise they've got to splash out $4.6 billion on Naby Keita's medical bills. Meanwhile, Jude Bellingham's already got 47 missed calls from Jurgen Klopp. And in continued good news for Liverpool fans, 2 goals from Mo Salah ensured a 2-1 victory over Tottenham. We're unbeaten in 1, lads. A brace from the Egyptian king was halved by a Harry Kane goal in the second half, but we held on to the win in the end. The second Salah strike came courtesy of a Dyer error. No, from Eric Dyer. Goodness! We've got a view here of Darwin Núñez and Mo watching him attempt to defend.
With passion, because he knew what this meant.
That's hard, man. That's hard. What are you laughing?
He ain't making it to the World Cup, mate. Do you think Antonio Conte isn't deporting him back to Cheltenham? There was, in fairness, a moment for Tottenham as Trent shoved Emerson in the penalty area. Gary Neville said he didn't think it was a pen, but I do think he's lucky. I wholeheartedly believe if Emerson hadn't done this no-look pass, though, he wins it. It's karma, mate. Kulusevski was on the bench debating life. Mate, should we just sack this off?
Se eu for completamente honesto, meu amigo, acho que seria uma ótima ideia abandonar completamente essa ideologia e mudar para a Venezuela.
Darwin Núñez is amazing. I love him. He plays like he needs footage for a Clips channel. Meanwhile, Harry Kane is actually going to end his career with no trophies in it. The only silverware in that trophy room is the canteen cutlery. But at least Garden Bowls is officially over. Yeah, mate. Aye, see you next season, innit? What a magnificent reoccurrence. Yes, the Champions League round of 16 draw took place this week, and Liverpool have been drawn against an old foe, Real Madrid.
So we don't have the capacity.
After losing the UCL final last season, we'll face off against Real again in the knockouts. Mo Salah's arm does not have the structural integrity for this. If I see him tweet about redemption again, I swear to God, it's gonna come down to him distracting the Real players in one last desperate chance for revenge. Trent's response to being asked to defend versus Vinicius Jr. for 180 minutes is pretty cut and dry. At least he's getting a trip to Madrid where he'll step off the plane and be impressed by the women he sees there.
I'm quite happy to be completely and utterly naked.
Fabinho's not going to be all too confident when he sees Fede Valverde standing in front of him. And have you noticed, FSG jumped straight out of here seeing us draw Real Madrid in the European Big League Soccer Playoffs Western Conference. Meanwhile at PSG, and they'll face off against Bayern Munich.
Paris Saint-Germain. Au revoir. Le Champions League. Champions League.
I can't wait for Messi versus Bayern, the sequel, and it's a titanic clash, let's be honest. But more importantly, this is the Choupo-Moting derby. I can't wait for his agent to do another madness mid-game. Alright, listen to this, yeah? What if you both owned it? And there's the shocking news that Manchester City didn't get the easiest possible draw. Pep Guardiola personally is fuming that they didn't end up getting MK Dons in the round of 16. And along with that, we have the Europa League draw as well, where there's another titanic fixture pulled out. United versus Barca in the Europa League. This tournament is on steroids this year. The Champions League 0.5. Actually, who am I kidding? This is not what it used to be. United fans are finally set to see Frankie de Jong up close. Erik ten Hag will be waiting and trying to convince him to join at half-time. Cristiano Ronaldo gets one last dance at Barcelona before he retires. The first leg of this will be at the Spotify Camp Nou Arena. The Spotify Arena? Don't give Jadon Sancho any ideas.
Jadon Sancho out.
What? Yeah, on the bench. Meanwhile, Barcelona, of course, had a Drake sponsorship for El Clasico due to that partnership, but they're going to have to go a little bit more B-Tech for this fixture, unfortunately. They're back in the Premier League, and there was more late drama at Manchester City, as who else but Erling Haaland bagged a late penalty to earn his 10-man side a 2-1 win over Fulham. The penalty was softer than a moisturised cheek. Pep Guardiola was showing more bottle than Chelsea have all season, and João Cancelo and FPL was completely muddied. Speaking of Man City and fantasy football, Jack Grealish is going to be fuming when he checks his phone and sees Almiron scored again.
Oh, fuck off.
One fan here needs to decide between Manchester City and Manchester United. In the Europa League, and youngster Alejandro Garnacho asked for permission before using Cristiano Ronaldo's new fabled celebration, but one Manchester City under-21 did not ask for that permission, as he used it, beating United 6-1. It's a shithousery award for Carlos Borges. Christian Pulisic was snapped down the tunnel here at some unnamed sporting event, looking like the odd one out.
You are freaking African Americans plus Mark. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm rocking with Mark because Mark is rocking with it.
Bruno Guimaraes' technique against Southampton seems to look familiar, and judging by this tweet, he already knows what it resembles. After scoring a late winner for Crystal Palace against West Ham, Michael Olise was buzzing with the result.
Just talk us through it.
Through what they got. I think Will passed me the ball, shot, scored.
Nice and brief, but it was a moment that captured the game, that won the game. And what's the feeling like when the ball does hit the back of the net?
It was a good feeling.
Meanwhile, Southampton boss Ralph Hasenhüttl has been sacked by the Saints. He's been a little bit unlucky, I think, with injuries to key players, but the writing's been on the wall, and Steven Gerrard's going to be surprised seeing him down at Job Centre.
Hold on. I swear that's Ralph and them, man. Come.
Now, there were crazy scenes at Brentford versus Nottingham Forest because before kick-off, and Brentford players clashed with Nottingham Forest groundsmen because they claimed that the Forest ground staff had interrupted their training regime. Apparently, a goalkeeping coach was injured in all of it. Imagine the excuse here, mate. Yeah, boss, listen, I can't come into work today. Steve, why on earth can you not come in? Because obviously, in the Carabao Cup, an Arsenal versus Brighton is not being broadcasted anywhere in the world, allegedly, on TV. And I'll tell you why. It's because they can't be arsed. No one wants to play in the E-Numbers Invitational. They're gonna play rock, paper, scissors to decide the result, and then go home. Meanwhile, Cameroon striker Vincent Aboubakar is still taking shots at Mo Salah. He suggested that he's still not all that impressed by the Egyptian, and that anything Mohamed can do, he can do too. If he tried to do what Mo Salah does, he would dislocate his pelvis. Now, in World Cup news, and there's the tragedy of Sadio Mane being a major doubt for Senegal after an injury picked up against Werder Bremen. Hey, listen, he's Sadestio Mane now. There is still a chance he can be involved, but Senegal are going to have to take drastic measures to try and sneak him on the plane. I Show Speed's World Cup song has already got more views than the official version, which means I need to do an official reaction to it.
Belgium, Qatar, Germany.
Yeah, you pronounce those nations, bro. Imagine him performing this at the final. Legendary Cameroonian striker Samuel Eto'o said that he's expecting his native Cameroon and Morocco to make up the final of this year's tournament.
Is he on fucking space? Oh, what?
Meanwhile, Brazil announced their official squad and their players filmed themselves reacting to their inclusion. Manchester United winger Anthony was emotional. Listen, I guess spinning is in this family's DNA. Alex Tellez is in the squad, although he's already got his Christmas tree up at the start of November, the fucking Kino. Dani Alves is somehow in here as well, despite being prehistoric. Brazilian pundits weren't too pleased.
Daniel Alves, Pumas. Danilo.
And as for Marquinhos' reaction... Hey, listen, yeah, nah, just take him out of the squad. A Feyenoord now, and they scraped out of their Europa League group in a group where everyone finished on the same amount of points. And this was their reaction on Twitter.
Give me everything. Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me.
Lazio's chief took digs at their bitter rivals Roma at the start of the season about being in the Conference League, and now they're in it too. Meanwhile, at PSV and their fans were banned from the stadium against Bodo Glimt, so they took matters into their own hands in terms of seeing the action. Now in Spain, and there's the shock retirement of Barcelona centre-back Gerard Piqué, who's called it quits halfway through the season, with 30 million euros in excess wages still owed to him. Frankie de Jong's not backing down now that Barcelona are expecting this from him too.
I mean, I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
I can't wait for Barcelona to invest that £30 million into Roberto Soldado. And I can't lie, last week's FTW jokes were a little bit too well timed. But things didn't quite end as planned for Gerard, as he was red carded whilst on the bench in his last technical game for the club, because at half-time he told the referee that he would shit on his mum. And that can only really be a dig at True Geordie again. Shakira's gonna be bemused seeing what he's into now that she's left him.
What is going on here?
But despite all of that, and Barcelona are top of La Liga after coming back from behind versus Osasuna, but they were helped by Real Madrid's 3-2 loss to Rayo Vallecano. During this one though, when Fede Valverde let one fly into somebody's living room. Real Sociedad's mascot brought out the Sue celebration after they beat Manchester United in the Europa League. Over in Germany, and Borussia Dortmund's admin had his laptop break whilst he was in the crowd. Simultaneously, Gio Reyna scored for them, so he had to improvise a little bit. And at the physios at Borussia Dortmund and at Bochum are having a tough time on German playing surfaces here. Ah, God, my face is really hurt. Oh God, the migraine. In France and down in the 3rd division, Parisian side Red Stars fans are not too pleased with current midweek fixtures and decided to protest using laser pens. Not on Sadio, has he not already been through enough this week? Meanwhile, in Italy, and again down in the 3rd division, we've got an unbelievable clip here from Messina, where their goalkeeper, Michael Lewandowski, accidentally scored from his own half this week. And the Italian side even tweeted Robert Lewandowski asking whether he could do this too. He's a little bit distracted, I'm afraid.
You 36!
Speaking of goals though, and on to our goals of the week, where we are quite literally breaking records, because this week, I shit you not, there's been 6 separate push-gas contenders. First off, in the world of futsal, and we've got Route 1 like you've never seen it before.
Потрясающе. Ну просто потрясающе.
Это Батыре! What a goal!
Polish hero Lukas Podolski, back in his native land, scored from a ridiculous distance for Górnik, basically his own half here. In Japan now, and unfortunately I don't know the scorer here, but this ball is an unidentified flying object here.
Stop! 一ノ瀬の左がうなりました。
We've seen lots of accidental goalkeeping goals on this channel, but have you ever seen one that's definitely intentional? Well, Benfica youth goalkeeper Samuel Suarez is definitely not playing this one forward. He spotted the goalie off his line and done a madness. In Senegal, and Abdoulaye Kassana brings out the acrobatics for this week.
Mamadou Koli!
And finally, completing a ridiculous lineup. Take about Martin Oleksy, who scored this ridiculous goal for Warta Poznan in the Polish top flight's amputee league.
Przemek Gromek. Uderzenie! Bramka Marcina Oleksego! Drodzy Państwo, to jest chyba najpiękniejsza bramka tego sezonu.
Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back, by popular demand, for yet more glorious beauty.
Soere speelt hier geen rol meer in deze aanval. Hier is Van der Meer. Oh, Van der Meer!
And that concludes The Beautiful Game. In the MLS Cup final now, and there was more dramatics as LAFC won on penalties against Philadelphia Union, in part thanks to a 128th minute goal from Gareth Bale, who since leaving Tottenham as a youngster has only ever had one trophyless season, and that was his season back on loan with Tottenham.
That one there was a violation.
And if you thought that game was mental, check out Racing versus Boca Juniors in Argentina, where there was a total of 10 red cards in one game. This ref was dishing them out. Now over in Switzerland, and Mario Balotelli is acclimatizing him. Just kidding, he absolutely isn't, by sticking his middle finger up to Basel fans. At Besiktas now, and their boss got caught off guard with a ball flying at speed. In Egypt now, and we've got an interesting way of delivering the ball. And I say delivery because it's quite literal here. I knew that pizza was looking a little bit weird. In Japan, and upon being disappointed at putting a chance wide here from a set piece, this Don accidentally hit one of his opponents. Thankfully, he was understanding, and so was the referee. But closer to home, and at Rotherham now, one of their main men needs to try the football to take a long throw-in. Step forward, a heroic fan from the crowd who offers his jumper for the cause. At Middlesbrough, and their goalkeeper had a quiet afternoon by the looks of things. But at QPR versus Norwich, and we've got the story of the year, Kissgate. Because one Don's gone to the game with his girlfriend or his fiance or something. She's gone to go get some drinks, and he's found her apparently mysteriously chatting to a 6'18" man. He thought his girlfriend had cheated on him and kissed this Don, so Twitter United decided to investigate the situation. That 6', 18-year-old's walking into sixth form tomorrow and he's loving his life. I, for one, need to see the security footage at QPR versus Norwich myself, because that could be a late winner here. In the FA Cup first round, and Torquay United of the Vanarama National scored late on to force a replay against Derby County, but to be honest, the most shocking thing there was the weather. But shouts out to Chippenham Town and Old Church, who were some of the lowest ranked sides in the competition left. They managed to win their first round ties and advance all the way now into the second round. Now, I mentioned the rain at Torquay, but I don't think it even compares to what's going on here in Brazil, because the weather is stopping a counter-attack all on its own here. And in Uganda now, what is the best way, I hear you ask, to stop an attacker in his tracks?
Does that, and does that. And he gets a slap for that.
Yep, just box him in the face. See what happens, lad. Now, though, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, recently I brought you a couple of ongoing stories, and we've got one that I've mentioned here before. Now, Nicolo Napoli is an interesting manager. He's a man who has plied his trade in Romania for a lot of his life, as well as, of course, Italy, specifically at one club, Universitatea Craiova, where he'd managed 8 times on separate occasions at the club. Well, make that 9, because once again, they have announced that he is going to be managing their first team after leaving for an 8th time. In Cyprus, in at AEL Timosol, I think we've got the most casual own goal you'll ever see. At Galatasaray, and who would have thought simply heading the ball would cause so much pain. At Sport Club in Brazil, we've seen a lot of red cards this week. Well, get ready for another 6, all for the same club. That's not an early shower, that's an early jacuzzi. Everybody's involved. In Ethiopia, and remember goalkeepers, it's always key to keep your eyes on the ball.
Chips the reality.
In Turkey at Fenerbahce, and we've got this Don putting everything on the line, including his own noggin to win the ball back. In Brazil and at Botafogo, we've got an interesting technique for a goalkeeper's throw. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we've got a double deflection providing the luckiest or unluckiest goal of the week, depending on what team you're on. And in Indonesia, welcome back to the world of FTW, we've got a very extra referee who's pulling out all the stops on his warm-up before this game. Now there is time for still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is the segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football, and this week we're back to questionable officials, because quite honestly, you're about to see one of the worst offside decisions of all time. Mate, do VAR on this and you're not even in the same postcode as the last man. On to the weird stuff though now. In Thailand, and a selection of police terror players all decided to sleep in the same room in a hotel this week. And the reason for it was because apparently the hotel was haunted, so they decided they were all in it together. The most ridiculous story of the week, unfortunately, is a little bit old, but it's come to light in the last 7 days, as a Croatia defender was transfer listed after getting it on with his Playboy model girlfriend on the pitch. Yep, that's right. His wife at the time admitted that they'd got a little bit funky in the centre circle when no one was at the stadium. As a result, Dino Derpic here was transfer listed by his side, Dinamo Zagreb, and after the admittance, he never played for Zagreb again. It's putting balls in the box, and then there's this Dino. The final 2 stories are a little bit more serious. First of all, over at Bath City, where their most recent game against Dulwich Hamlet was abandoned after their player Alex Fletcher sustained a serious head injury after colliding with an advertising board. The only update is that he's in a stable but critical condition. My well wishes are with Alex and his family in what can only be a ridiculously difficult time. But a more positive story is that of Josip Ilicic over in Slovenia. Josip spent a year out of football after suffering from depression whilst at Atalanta and left the Italian side last year. Well, he moved back to his native Slovenia and Maribor, but this week he scored from the penalty spot, signalling his first goal in professional football after coming back from his spell on the sidelines. Great to see Josip doing what he loves again, and I wish him the best for the rest of the season. But that is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.